What is up guys, my name is Ignas, welcome back to the channel. This week I've made a dividend comparison on several semiconductor names, and Qualcomm did have the best numbers out of that bunch. So now I want to take a deeper look into this particular stock. Interestingly enough, I already had a video on it back in December of 2021. When I looked at it then, the stock had a 40% run up in a few months. So I was curious if the fundamentals are still there to get in. Unfortunately, I found out that there is nothing that excites me about it. I was holding a position prior to this analysis, but sold out of it pretty much just after making the video. I was lucky there, because in 2022 the price just keeps going lower, and it is now down almost 30% from those highs, at minus 27.74%. Interestingly enough, as the price did stumble lower, maybe now could be an interesting opportunity to start making a new position in it. But how much did exactly the fundamentals change in this period? To compare that, we'll use my notes that I've made 7 months back. So these are here my notes on Qualcomm that I've made more than half a year ago. As you can see, we have 2 points that I was bullish on, but then we also had 6 bearish ones. So a history of increasing revenues was not that long, only starting in 2020. Then we had the price to earnings ratio not coming lower, and as we saw that the price was surging by the end of 2021, PE there was also the highest of that year. Interesting part with analyst estimates, they were predicting for the price to go up by around 10%, but even though that estimate was to the upper side, we still put it in a bearish color, because that wasn't that much of an upside, compared to some other stocks that we've looked into at that time. Interesting to find out how the sentiment has changed in just a half of a year. Superinvestors were holders and insiders only selling, and now these next 2 notes is what I like the most. Back then the stock was at a 52-week high, so I was considering that the stock could be going lower from there, and I was holding a position in Revolut, which I sold after a few days of putting together these notes. So on one hand I do feel like a genius by selling the stock right there at the top, but on the other I know that that money went to another stock that is doing worse than Qualcomm right now. But the question today is not what I did, but should we be changing our stance on Qualcomm? The dividend comparison showed that it could be promising to look into the stock deeper yet again. We'll go through fundamentals and technicals, and let's see how many reds will be changed to greens in these notes. So here we have Qualcomm's revenue history of the last 5 years. The trailing 12-month revenue did start to go up in 2020, but the last 2 quarters are also very promising. Fourth quarter of 2021 they brought in $10.7 billion, a quarterly increase of almost 30% year over year, and first quarter of 2022 that was $11.16 billion, so a year over year increase of 40.69%, which is nice, but that also adds up to $39.27 billion on the trailing 12 months. So they did increase on revenue in 2020, but then kept on doing that in 2021 and 2022. Now the next metric we'll check is the price to earnings. So the last time we checked we had the stock price at the highs of over $180, but this year it has been stumbling down. So in first quarter of 2022 price to earnings went lower to 15.56, and now we have it even lower at 13.01. So if we check into the last 5 years, on average price to earnings was closer to 20, and even 5 years back we have it at 18.27. So right now with the price and earnings that we have the PE ratio at the lowest it has been in the last 5 years. Now next metric we'll check is the dividend yield. So by the end of 2021 with the price surging, we saw the yield pretty much at the lowest point it has been in 5 years, but this year with the dividend payout going higher and price moving down, the dividend yield did go up, where it is now over 2% at 2.18. But that is still similar than what we saw in 2021. And if we do go a year back to 2020, we even saw the yield at 3 or more percent. So it seems that Qualcomm is not giving a great opportunity with the dividend yield at the current price, but to put that into numbers, we'll use my dividend stock watchlist on Google Sheets. So we are in my watchlist and this is the tab for Qualcomm. Here we can calculate that on average in 5 years the stock was trading at a dividend yield of 2.87%. So best time to get in was back in 2019 with a dividend yield of 4.45%, 55.03% over the average, and worst by the end of 2021 at a yield of 1.54%, under average for 46.35%. But if we take a look into the stock right now, where it is trading at a dividend yield of 2.26%, so even after moving up this year, that is still under average for 21.27%. So not that great of an opportunity, as we have seen way better in the last 5 years. If you would be interested in doing a similar analysis on your favorite dividend stocks, you are able to do that by following the first link at the top of the description. Otherwise, feel free adding tickers in a comment below, and I'll consider adding them into my watch list here. Maybe you could share some interesting opportunities in the market that I'm still missing. The next step will be analyst targets. Here we have information on 32 analyst price targets for Qualcomm. The targets range from the lows of $130 to the highest of $471.60 per share. On average, the estimate come in at $198.80, and the stock is currently trading at $133.04 per share. This means that on average, analysts predict that next year the stock price should be going up by 49.4%. Now let's take another angle. Here we have earnings per share estimates for next year. So out of 27 analysts, they predict that in 2023, Qualcomm will be bringing $13.15 per share. If we assume that the price-to-earnings ratio will remain the same, then analysts expect that next year the price should be going up by 5%. So the range here is huge, but that is way better than we had half a year back, because now analysts predict that next year the price will be going up from 5 to 50%. Now next step are insiders and superinvestors. So there is no change on the insider part. In the last 6 months they did 0 transactions to buy, but they did 5 sells for over $1.5 million. But it seems there has been some change in the superinvestor activity. So Matrix Advisors Value reduced their exposure by 2.69%, which could be considered nice, and they are now holding 16,250 shares, which makes 3.78% of their portfolio. But then on the other hand, 2 funds increased on their positions. So Mears and Power Growth Fund added 8.59% into their position, now holding 733,000 shares, valued at over $112 million, and that makes 2.07% of their portfolio. And there is also Torrey Funds, where they added 5.31% and are now holding 16,790 shares, making 0.41% of their portfolio. So this time at least it seems that superinvestors are net buyers of the stock. Now for the last part we need to check the technicals. So after reaching those highs of $190 per share by the end of 2021, the stock has been continuously going lower, went under the 100-day moving average in March of 2022, and then under 300 a month after the first. There was a moment in the beginning of May where the stock tested the 300-day moving average as a resistance, but that worked and it tumbled back lower. It seems that the 50-day moving average is also acting as a decent resistance, as every month the price reaches the line and then stumbles back lower again. Now a few weeks back we had a bearish crossover where the 100-day moving average went under the 300, and next one could be the 200 crossing free. Interestingly enough, the last time that happened, the stock shoot up from $130 to $180 per share. I wonder how much of that could be repeated again. Right now we have the price at just over $130, but relative strength index is already over 50 at 53.4, and 12-day moving average of the MACD already over the 26th one. So I believe it is likely that the 50-day moving average resistance works, and we will be seeing the stock price going lower again soon. So we checked through all those parts, and now let's take a quick recap of what we found. Revenues has been going sideways, but started moving up in 2020 and now still keeps on increasing through 2022. Looking into the price-to-earnings ratio, as the stock is moving lower, we now actually do have it at the cheapest it has been in the last 5 years. They have been buying back shares, though not much change in the last few quarters. Regarding the dividend yield, it has been going up this year, but that is not enough as it is still under the 5-year average for 21.27%. Now the analysts' expectations are way better, as for next year they are predicting that the price will be going up from 5 to almost 50%. Insiders haven't started buying yet, but Superinvestors are already net buyers of the stock. Though after looking into technicals there is not much excitement there. Relative Strength Index and MACD already moved up, though it seems that we could still be getting more red days, as the 50-day moving average is acting as a resistance, and 200-day moving average would be crossing 300 to the lower side. And that was it. Make sure to support the channel and leave a thumbs up under the video. What do you think, is Qualcomm a worthy pick right now? Share your stance or your position in it in a comment below. If you would be interested in getting access to my Dividend stock watchlist, then consider memberships. By becoming a member you will get access to Discord, where I share all my Google Sheets documents and all the buys and sells exactly when I do them. This could be a great option to track my moves closely. Last week I've looked into other companies, so if you would be interested in any of these, then click on a video that is currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one.